Imagine being so broke and so desperate that to only get out of the trenches, your only option is either crack the main lead or become a BOP. If you like what you heard, this manhwa is just for you. So without further delay, let's begin our recap. The day begins with someone cheerfully remarking to Rose that the weather is wonderful, a perfect day for something special. He takes her hand with enthusiastic determination and urges her to look at the adorable birds nearby. But Rose, ever composed, merely responds that he should remove whatever is covering her eyes so she can properly admire them. Her brother only laughs, insisting he cannot do that yet, because this is a surprise party prepared entirely for her. He tells her to get ready, for everything they have arranged today is just for her. On the count of 3, he finally removes the blindfold. Rose's eyes widen instantly, her thoughts freezing as she wonders whether the feast laid out before her truly consists of nothing but carrot dishes. Her brother beams with pride, thrilled with what they have prepared. It is far more extravagant than she expected, and it even seems that Bertha gathered every special ingredient available from the vegetable garden. The maid confirms it proudly, explaining that today is an exceptionally important day. Yet Rose cannot help but stare at the primitive wooden utensils arranged before her, questioning inwardly whether such crude tools truly belong on a dining table in a duke's household. The butler approaches with a solemn flourish, carrying the main dish. For a moment her hopes stir. Perhaps the main course would finally break the strange theme of the meal. But her brother announces with unshakable delight that this is the grand dish they have prepared for her and encourages her to behold it. In the center of a large platter lies a single, finger-sized piece of chicken. He hypes it up even further, declaring what a luxurious catch it was and urging her to try it at once. Rose can only stare, utterly dumbfounded, yet forces herself to clap politely, knowing she must offer some response. After all, he is the head of the household. Her brother, glowing with pride, declares how happy he is to be the eldest son and the person she cherishes most. He had planned this surprise celebration for an entire month, all for the sole purpose of making her happy. He quotes a saying, that life appears tragic when observed up close but becomes comedic when viewed from afar. The moment Rose takes a bite, she immediately starts coughing. The chicken has not even been seasoned with salt. Her brother simply laughs, asking how their family could possibly afford salt. It is far too expensive for them. His carefree humor contrasts sharply with the reality of the meal she is struggling to swallow. The butler then steps forward, his tone carrying the weight of truth. People often boast that they envy the glamorous lives of nobles, he reflects, but in truth there are 2 kinds of nobility. There are those born to live in splendor, destined to shine effortlessly throughout their lives. And then, there are those who know nothing of luxury, whose noble title exists only in name, sometimes even treated as something that could be sold. Rose, despite being born a noble daughter, is one who suffers poverty. There is only one explanation. She must have become the daughter of the impoverished Canap family merely a week ago. A week earlier, the now transplanted heroine had stood before a billboard, staring at the polished faces of modern aristocrats. She envied them deeply. They looked like nobles living comfortably in the 21st century, yet she herself felt no joy at all. Born poor, she carried debts like shackles. She held in her hands the sculpture of emotion, a book centered on noble life, hoping its stories would lend her a taste of elegance. Though the caste system had vanished, she felt there still existed a kind of noble infection, a lingering fever of hierarchy. She was exhausted, wanting to surrender her life entirely, with no money left to repay her student loans. Desperate for a life as refined as a true noble's, she longed to live with elegance and dignity. At that moment, a bus crashed violently in front of her. At least, that was what she imagined in the seconds before she was struck by a car herself. The moment she opens her eyes, she sees 2 moons suspended in the sky. A jolt of disbelief runs through her. Surely those cannot be North and Zen. Yet when she lifts her gaze higher, recognition strikes instantly. A world where twin moons share the heavens exists only in one place. The universe of the novel Sculpture of Emotion. Panic sweeps through her as the realization settles. She is inside a noblewoman's body. A maid rushes into the room, calling out to her with concern and addressing her as Rose. The female protagonist freezes, wondering if she truly is Rose. Her eyes dart immediately to the lavender hair falling over her shoulders. Unsteady on her feet, she walks toward the mirror, and there, reflected back at her, is undeniable proof she really has become Rose. Meanwhile, her precious ATM card remains stranded back on Earth, and tomorrow was supposed to be payday. She tries to convince herself this must be a dream, but the longer she looks at her reflection, the more she knows it isn't. From all the characters she could have become, why must she have transmigrated into Rose? She examines herself again in the mirror, pale skin that makes her lavender hair glow with an almost ethereal radiance, and turquoise eyes that resemble jewels crafted by elves. The first duchess of this lineage was an elf, one of the founding heroes of the Arato Empire, celebrated alongside her lover. For their achievements, they were granted the noble title of Duke by the Emperor. Their duchy's mansion was constructed by dwarves amidst the breathtaking beauty of Tenbridge Garden. With the elves' exceptional beauty and formidable power intertwined, the family had risen to immense wealth. The scene shifts to a memory woven into the history of this world. Someone declares that they will grant one last chance for repentance, hoping the forthcoming child will grow with love, affection, and kindness, before that same child one day devours everything in cruelty. Queen Sabrina had placed a curse upon the unborn child residing in the Empress's womb. Unaware of this dark curse festering within her, the Empress took her own life, piercing her heart with her soul. Yet her newborn son appeared perfectly normal, a handsome baby who showed no visible abnormalities. But when he made no cry at birth, the queen's calm shattered. It was not that the child refused to cry, he was incapable of showing any emotion at all. The curse had shattered the baby's soul. This cursed infant is the crown prince, Asher. In the novel, he is the male lead, a man wholly devoid of emotion. At present, he is facing complications regarding his impending marriage. He must be returning to the capital at this very moment, and his fiancée is the very body she inhabits, Rose. Asher's inability to express emotions has drawn relentless criticism from nobles and commoners alike. Empress Merlin, fearing that the crown prince's popularity would plummet further, made a swift and cunning decision. Exploiting the dire state of the dukedom's finances, she engineered a convenient love scandal, enticing Rose with money. Tired of endless poverty, Rose accepted the marriage and allowed herself to be used. However, the crown prince, despite his emotional emptiness, is devastatingly handsome. Rose, foolishly overwhelmed, falls in love with him. But the heroine of the novel is Serena, not Rose. Watching the crown prince and Serena fall deeply in love, Rose chooses to step aside, refusing to become the villainess and instead fading into the background as a minor character. In the story, Rose was exploited thoroughly and then simply forgotten. Who knows what fate awaits her now? Even after being used so cruelly, she receives no money at all. The thought feels unbearably unfair. Rose became the crown princess only to suffer because she allowed herself to fall in love. And love cannot fill an empty stomach. She has never known the experience of being a crown princess in her previous life, and as expected, what she truly needs right now is money. Perhaps, she thinks, once she ascends as crown princess, she should earn as much wealth as possible, enough to satisfy her completely. He is constantly worried that his family will be dragged into the political struggle, and because of this fear, he continues to hide the true extent of his power. Quite a few readers find themselves moved by this heartbreaking circumstance. Returning to his prison-like routine, he contemplates which book he should read. Rose, feeling almost like a priest giving guidance, urges him to choose the shorter one. As she reflects, she remembers that it was a witch who destroyed the crown prince's soul, and she wonders what it must feel like to live without emotions. Curious, she turns to her brother and considers what kind of person the crown prince might be, trying to gather as much information as possible from him. Her brother, however, simply insists that the crown prince is a terrifying and overwhelmingly powerful beast. She internally questions this description. After all, didn't he defeat that dreadful creature, and from the young age of 13 at that? It seems reasonable that only the Holy Cord is capable of restraining him. The ones who possess true strength must be the crown prince and the priest who wields the maze. Rose senses that approaching any of this will not be easy, and her brother wonders aloud why she is suddenly so curious. She brushes it off with casual indifference, insisting that she is simply curious, reminding herself that neither she nor her brother are the protagonist of this world. She must therefore devise safety measures, anything that will help her live comfortably here. She had expected Asher to be formidable, but he is far more terrifying than she imagined. In the midst of her concerns, she begins contemplating the impossible, how she might steal the crown prince's wealth. The idea feels like something one could only achieve by staking their own life. Meanwhile, her brother remains beside her, continuing to avoid using his head for anything troublesome. A butler enters, informing them that refreshments have arrived. She brightens at the thought snacks would be a welcome blessing, especially because her blood sugar feels like it has plummeted. As members of a ducal household, shouldn't they at least enjoy a proper tea time? yet all that appears before her are carrots. Her brother cheerfully explains that they are fresh, harvested directly from the garden today. As expected, he boasts, their carrots are sweeter and more delicious than sugar. The butler adds that he believes this is the dessert that pairs best with reading. Her brother encourages her to try them since it is her birthday, insisting that he carefully selected these carrots especially for her. Because the gesture is sincere, she eats them. They are sweeter than she expected, and even the water drawn from the Danbridge well is pleasantly refreshing. The Duke notices that the maid's back seems to be hurting and gently urges her to rest. The maid tries to refuse, insisting that working is her duty and she must remain diligent. Rose understands immediately. Poverty and poor health are among life's most unforgiving hardships. She no longer remembers the name she had on Earth, but she vividly remembers the miserable conditions she lived in. She had no place to go, no family to rely on, and even when illness pinned her down, she forced herself to endure it because she lacked the money to visit a hospital. She had been utterly alone, but here it is different. She tells the maid that she cannot allow her to continue working like this and urges her again to rest. The maid protests that tasks still await her, but the Duke agrees with Rose, stating that they do not mind and that Rose's judgment is correct. Rose insists once more, reminding the maid that this is an order. Although she knows these people originated from a novel, they are now individuals who genuinely care for her. She feels, for the first time, as if she belongs to a family. Her maid has been working alone in this fallen household for far too long. There is no possibility that her health is intact. She is clearly enduring the same poverty Rose once knew on Earth, poverty that prevented hospital visits and demanded silent suffering. Rose realizes she cannot simply sit by. They must escape poverty, and there is only one viable path. The key that made Serena function as the original novel's heroine is the core element of the story, the Crown Prince's soul fragment. According to the Crown Prince himself, whenever a soul fragment is nearby, he is able to feel emotions, his emotions. Rose knows she must take advantage of this. The Duke studies her and asks what troubles her, but she responds with a gentle smile, telling him nothing is wrong. In truth, she is contemplating how to execute the safety measures she has devised. Meanwhile, at the palace, the Queen hands a maid an important letter, emphasizing that there must not be a single mistake in its delivery. The Duke turns to the Queen, questioning whether the reason she has summoned him is to discuss the engagement between Rose and the Crown Prince. The Queen responds by explaining that she has heard of the many loans burdening his family, loans that must have troubled them severely. She assures him that if the engagement between Rose and the Crown Prince succeed, she will personally repay every single debt. She emphasizes that both sides can achieve their goals peacefully, and she reiterates this to make him understand that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for the ducal house to elevate its power. Meanwhile, Rose wonders if her brother is at this very moment discussing her engagement with the Empress. She feels genuinely sorry that he must face Her Majesty because the Empress suddenly summoned him to the palace. Their situation, however, allows them little time. This moment signals that the main storyline is about to begin. Knowing this, Rose resolves that she must work hard and earn money. Although this is only the beginning, she believes she should start searching for what she needs immediately. She is determined to be the one who pulls them out of poverty. Her target is a fragment of the Crown Prince's soul, an object that enables her to earn money through other people's emotions. It is the crucial item that led Serena to become the female lead in the original novel. In that story, Serena found the blue marble on Rockingham Beach when she subconsciously picked it up. Shortly afterward, she saved the Emperor from drowning during the storm that capsized his boat. Because of this, Serena was rewarded generously. She was granted permission to live in the palace for a week, and through this opportunity, she met the Crown Prince. Their intertwined destinies began from that point. As long as Rose finds the object before the designated heroine, she too will receive grand gifts from the Emperor. Her first concern, however, is how to reach that beach. She calls for the butler and announces that she is heading there. The beach lies beside Dunbridge, near the estate belonging to Baron Harris. She plans to travel from that location to Rockingham in search of the soul fragment. This marks the beginning of her mission to earn money by harvesting emotions. The butler calls after her, asking her to take care on her journey and to return safely. His concern moves her, and she responds with a warm smile, assuring him that she will return soon. She then makes her way to the domain, only to be met by a night guard, who immediately asks whether she intends to pay the tax. She wonders why they are questioning her about taxes when this is clearly her provision, and the carrots she carries are simply meant for lunch. The knight begins laughing, claiming that he heard her say they were for lunch. Another knight asks what she intends to do with those carrots, eyeing her suspiciously and demanding to know who she is. She insists internally that they are nothing more than ordinary carrots, but it seems they have no intention of believing a word she says. Someone arrives at the scene, asking what is going on. The knight quickly reports to the newcomer that they are inspecting a suspicious individual. Rose realizes that this person is Baron Harris. The knight explains to him that she might even be an unknown witch. With no alternative left, Rose removes her hood. The men gasp the moment they see her face, recognizing her immediately as someone from the Duke's household. Baron Harris apologizes for their rudeness, explaining that his knights are still new and lack proper experience. He then asks why she is wandering outside alone. She explains that she is searching for a route to Rockingham, though the only thing she happens to have with her are the carrots. Baron Harris admits that he does not have much to offer either. She desperately wonders whether there is another way, even if it requires riding in a simple cart, and her eagerness practically sparkles in her eyes. Unable to refuse her, he offers to arrange a cart to transport her there if she does not mind. She expresses her gratitude, promising that she will repay his kindness someday. Baron Harris proceeds to introduce her to Kyle, a merchant who will accompany her. Kyle expresses that he looks forward to her cooperation. Inside the cart, the interior is surprisingly spacious, and she is able to relax her body with relief. Rose hands Harris a carrot as the only thing she can offer for now. She had accepted his help without even realizing it, and she vows again that she will repay him one day, asking him to wait for that moment. With that, she departs. After 3 long days spent in the cart, they finally reach their destination, the Count's mansion. She hands Kyle a carrot as well, declaring that she will someday repay his kindness too. Her determined declaration makes Kyle respond with gratitude. He has no idea where she is going or why she is rushing, but she continues on without hesitation. At the far end of the beach lies a small, forest-like area. When she follows the narrow path downward, she finally reaches a soft, sandy shore, surrounded by an emerald sea. This is the place where Serena found the piece of the Crown Prince's soul, yet something about the moment makes her hesitate. She wonders if it is truly right for her to take it. This beach is where the heroine spends her time because it belongs to Count Jane, and Rose feels a pang of guilt. This is precisely why Serena could walk around freely without being discovered. Rose must find the fragment quickly, before anyone notices her presence. She begins calling out inwardly for the precious gem to reveal itself. She must find that piece of the Crown Prince's soul before Serena does. But suddenly, arrows are pointed at her. Someone shouts that an intruder has been spotted and orders the guards to seize her. She is thrown into confusion. Serena was never caught here, not even once. And just like that, her treasure, her future income, her precious fragment of the Crown Prince's soul, all of it slips out of her grasp. The knight studies her closely, asking whether she truly means she has come here in search of something. She affirms it with an unbothered nod and, as if the matter is entirely ordinary, offers him some of her carrots as well. She mentions that they are a delivery from Dan Bridge, prompting the knight to accept them with unexpected gratitude. At last, someone arrives and calls for Rose, a woman Rose immediately recognizes as Jane, Serene's childhood friend and the daughter of a count. Rose rises to greet her, bowing politely, while Jane insists they begin by acquainting themselves with nature's comforts. She unveils an assortment of exquisite desserts and encourages Rose to eat, hoping the flavors suit her taste. Everything proves exceptionally delicious to Rose, who has rarely encountered such careful refinement. Jane, watching her reaction with amusement, remarks that she has heard rumors of Rose secretly entering her family's beach and searching for something there. She adds that Rose could have simply asked, as she would have gladly invited her. Curious, Rose wonders aloud whether it is possible to enter even now. Jane explains that opening the beach for her would not be difficult under normal circumstances, but a guest has already arranged to visit, making entry impossible until tomorrow. Rose instantly realizes who the guest must be: the Emperor and his mistress, who are expected to arrive precisely when Serene intends to retrieve a fragment of soul. If Rose hesitates, Serene will reach the jewel first. With growing urgency, Rose asks whether nothing at all can be done to change the situation. Jane admits that altering the arrangement would be difficult, and instead turns the conversation to lighter matters, praising the chef's exceptional skill. Rose understands that she cannot pressure Jane beyond what is reasonable, yet Jane ever-kind offers to request that the chef prepare more dishes if Rose desires. Rose feels warmth at her generosity, silently blessing her and wishing for her well-being. Before Rose can respond further, someone steps in and announces that Jane has another visitor. Rose recognizes the newcomer at once. The woman with loose red hair and warm amber eyes, the protagonist of the novel, Serene herself. Serene gazes at Rose with a mixture of surprise and admiration, remarking on Rose's ethereal appearance, while Rose coolly attributes it to the blessings of her ancestors. She has no time for needless exchanges. Hesitation now means losing the jewel to Serene. Determined, Rose informs her that she must go to the sea, for she is searching for something crucial there. Serene, feigning curiosity, notes that she heard the beach is closed until tomorrow, and wonders how Rose could have misplaced something there in the first place. Rose, however, remains focused, refusing to allow Serene even a moment's advantage. Rose insists that it simply happened, and that she must find it because it is extremely important. Serena calls after her, explaining that she herself knows how to sneak into the beach and asking whether Rose would like to accompany her. She had planned to go there the following morning. Rose understands instantly. This is the very hour when the fragment of soul is meant to appear. She quickly tells Serena that she actually dropped a blue jewel while searching the beach earlier, and asks whether Serena would help her look for it. Serena agrees without hesitation, and confirms that they will visit tomorrow. Later that night, Rose lies in her bed when Serena suddenly whispers her name and urges her to get up because they must leave now. The two of them slip out through the balcony. Rose cannot help but wonder why the guards had been so strict with her yesterday, yet tonight everything seems effortless. But of course, Serena will never be caught. She is the protagonist of this story. Serena asks whether Rose is searching for a blue jewel, and Rose confirms it, though she adds a crucial warning. If Serena finds it, she must not pick it up. Rose insists she should call her instead, because the jewel must never touch the hands of a protagonist. There is always the possibility of the fragment reacting to Serena in a disastrous way. The weather is worsening, and Rose recalls that in the novel, today is the very day the Emperor's boat overturns, throwing him into the sea. The mere thought of entering the water under such conditions makes her stomach lurch. The Emperor, she thinks, must be an absolute fool to venture onto the ocean on a night like this. At last, her eyes lock onto the faint, luminous blue of the jewel. She reaches down and lifts it carefully. So this is the fragment smaller than she expected, but exactly what she needs. Perfect timing. Beyond this moment lies opportunity, profit, and survival. Serena asks whether this is the jewel she lost, and Rose answers yes, relieved to have found it. Serena congratulates her, only to freeze suddenly, her gaze fixed on something in the distance. Rose asks what is wrong, and Serena points out a shape floundering in the waves. A moment later, recognition hits. It is the boat that is drowning. Serena is horrified, unable to comprehend how anyone could place such a tiny vessel on the water in a storm like this. Rose agrees that it seems absurd. Even watching from shore makes her stomach twist. Yet Rose herself remains almost unnervingly calm. Rose turns to Serena and asks what she is waiting for. She must save His Majesty. She adds that the man thrown into the sea is the Emperor himself, so Serena had better hurry. At that, Serena rushes forward, shouting for His Majesty. As expected, the carrots from Dan Bridge taste superb, and Rose chews thoughtfully while watching the rescue unfold. Because of this very event, she knows Serena will later receive a knighthood. Rose settles into the realization that she has fulfilled her role well. In that very moment, the knights rush toward the Majesty, and Rose thinks that they should arrive quickly. It seems the dangerous situation is finally over. She wonders whether she ought to involve Serena more, so she steps forward and explains to the knights that the ship had capsized because of the violent weather, yet this young lady managed to save everyone in the nick of time. The knights look at her, accept the explanation, and respond simply that it is all right. At the Emperor's villa, the Majesty addresses the two of them, declaring that they have done a remarkable job. Despite being young ladies, they braved the raging waves of the sea to save him, something the Majesty acknowledges as extremely dangerous. Serena, overwhelmed, expresses her gratitude, while the Majesty continues, pointing out that saving the Emperor's life is the same as safeguarding the whole country itself. Because of this, he grants them both the title of Knight Viscountess, and announces that he wishes for them to visit the Imperial Palace as well. Rose feels a quiet thrill of relief, glad that she will finally have the chance to meet the Crown Prince. The Majesty then pauses, as though something just occurs to him. He remarks that this is actually the first time he has ever seen Rose in person, and he mentions that he heard she reached 20 years of age not long ago. Rose confirms it, and the Majesty declares that since she has now become a mature lady, she will be receiving an additional present when she visits the Imperial Palace. Internally, Rose can only hope he means money. The Majesty concludes by giving orders that his servants prepare everything necessary for a comfortable departure, so the two young ladies may travel pleasantly. The scene shifts to both of them inside the grand imperial garage. Rose sits in the carriage, nibbling on sweets. As expected, the imperial carriage is truly different from anything she has ever known. Even the attendants here serve luxurious desserts as if it were the most natural thing. Serena watches Rose, still unable to believe what has happened. She remains in disbelief that she now carries the title of knight, even though, in her mind, all she had done was follow Rose's instructions. Rose, however, understands clearly that the story has changed because of her. In the original novel, it had been Serena alone who intended to save everyone at the same moment. Now, except for that intention, it was Rose who guided her and instructed her to act, completely altering the path. Rose gently interprets it as perhaps simply part of Serena's destiny, hoping Serena won't overthink it. They are heading to the Imperial Palace to receive their presents, and Rose wonders aloud how much they might receive. All she has to do, she decides, is enjoy the moment. Serena softens into a smile, agreeing wholeheartedly, promising inwardly and outwardly that she will simply follow Rose's lead, just as she always has. At last, they are almost there. Rose gazes out the carriage window, marveling at the sight before her, wondering how a place like this could even exist. Everything appears overwhelmingly lavish, every structure and pathway exuding the grandeur of the Imperial Palace. When the carriage stops, servants immediately step forward to assist them down with refined precision. The butler approaches, announcing that they have been eagerly awaited. To him, both Rose and Serena are the saviors of the Emperor, and because of a special order, the palace will escort them everywhere, even into areas normally reserved solely for members of the imperial family. Their outfits for the duration of their stay will be provided as well, crafted by the most famous boutique in the entire capital. Rose begins to wonder if the crown prince might be somewhere nearby. The butler adds that they will also be paid, as a matter of maintaining the emperor's dignity. Rose internally questions what he means, and the butler clarifies that the payment is separate from the presents they will soon receive. This generosity moves both young women profoundly. He leads them first to Serena's room, then turns to show Rose the space she will be using, the Starlight Room. Its many large windows cast beautiful glimmers of light across the interior, though Rose notes that heating such a place during winter would surely cost a fortune. Of course, she reminds herself, the imperial family never needs to concern itself with such expenses. A maid enters, bowing gracefully, and introduces herself as Rachel. She expresses that it is an honor to serve Rose, and explains that she and the others will follow all palace etiquette while attending to her. They begin with preparations for Rose's outfit, but first, Rachel attempts to take away Rose's dirty bag, instructing another maid to dispose of it. Instinctively, Rose snatches it back, alarmed, since the precious fragment of soul is still inside. Rachel questions whether the item is truly so important, and Rose insists that she has no other bag to store her belongings. Accepting this, Rachel calls for alternatives, and a maid arrives carrying an armful of fine purses, asking Rose to choose whichever one she prefers. Rose selects a yellow purse, pleased with its size. The maid then explains that since the Emperor is returning, many eyes will be watching His Majesty closely, so Rose must be careful in her choices, meaning she cannot simply roam wherever she pleases. They then begin dressing her. One maid, while adjusting her garments, inquires whether Rose has already had her debutante ball, and whether she has a chapter done, something Rose misunderstands entirely, wondering for a moment if they are talking about shampoo, having no idea what they truly mean. Another maid, after finishing Rose's hairstyle, pauses in admiration. As expected, she comments inwardly, "The blood of an elf creates a striking difference. Rose's lavender hair gives her a mysterious, otherworldly charm, and the silver ribbon enhances it beautifully." It is clear to everyone that Rose's beauty is exceptional. More maids soon arrive, this time carrying a gift under the Emperor's orders, a pouch meant to maintain the Emperor's dignity. Rose wonders eagerly how much money might be inside, confident that the Emperor would surely give her a valuable present. But to her surprise, the maids reveal that the gift is actually a hair ornament, currently extremely popular among noble ladies. Rose stares at it, bewildered, inwardly questioning what in the world this even is. Just a popular item? Still, she reaches for it, deciding to play along, and admires the craftsmanship. The delicate flower, attached to one side, makes it appear as though she is holding a living bloom in her hand, and she outwardly expresses how beautiful it looks. Feeling satisfied, she intends to stop acting, only for disaster to strike at the very end. the ornament slips from her hand. It falls. A soft sound echoes across the room as it hits the floor. Every maid freezes in horror. Their expressions twist with panic, for the present from the Emperor freshly given is now broken at Rose's feet. Rose stands stunned, wondering if she will survive the consequences of this accident. The maid announces that the gift sent by His Majesty has been completely ruined, leaving it utterly unusable, and she laments how unfortunate that is. Rose feels a cold shiver of dread because she believes this might be the end for her. Yet, despite being shattered, the item still maintains its original shape, and she wonders desperately if there is truly no alternative solution. Gathering her courage, she calls the maids over and asks them to collect every fragment of the broken flower accessory. The maid presents the gathered pieces, explaining that these are all of them, and waits curiously to see what Rose intends to do. Rose tells them to watch carefully. She begins weaving the scattered flower pieces into her braid, forming a natural arrangement, and explains that this is a styling method known as the L style of hairdressing. She elaborates that it is inspired by the concept of naturalism. The maids watch in amazement, convinced that this naturalistic approach must be something remarkably fashionable and refined. At last, Rachel arrives, asking whether Rose has finished preparing, and expresses her intention to escort her around the imperial palace. At the same moment, Serena joins them, stating that she has come as well because she wishes to see various parts of the palace. Thus, the two of them set out together, wandering through the grand corridors and expansive courtyards. As they move along, Serena observes that there are an extraordinary number of people gathered within the imperial palace. Rachel explains that it is currently the height of the social scene. The palace is always busy, but during this period it becomes significantly more crowded than usual. Rose looks around and notices the abundance of individuals with blonde hair, one after another, a sea of similar appearances, making her silently question how she is supposed to locate the crown prince among so many nearly identical figures. Then, from the crowd, a voice rises asking whether others have heard the rumor circulating today that this particular gathering is being used to select a potential bride candidate for the crown prince. The statement sends a sharp jolt through Rose, making her shudder at the implications. Rose wonders about the meaning behind the popularity of the story. It seems to be everywhere, widely discussed among journalists. She finds the situation utterly different from what she expects. Wasn't the engagement supposed to already be the subject of conversation? Yet now the story has shifted again, just as it did in the original narrative. In that story, before Serena arrived at the capital, talk of their engagement would have ended, but Serena's presence here disrupts the timeline, leaving Rose to wonder whether she has ruined everything simply by being in the same place as Serena. She fears the consequences if the crown prince appears while she is together with Serena. After all, Serena should be the one holding a piece of his soul, not her. Rose's mind races with questions. Will events unfold exactly as they did in the original story? She recalls how others had given the marble to Serena, fully aware of its significance, before approaching the crown prince. Rose had believed that possessing that marble would make the crown prince love her, but in truth, it only fueled his hatred. After enduring all the frustration and regret, she ultimately fell from her attempt to steal the marble. Rose resolves that, during her lifetime, she must distance herself from the crown prince and return the piece of his soul to Serena, as expected. She knows she should pursue the crown prince alone, and thus she begins searching for him without delay. Serena notices and approaches, asking if Rose is looking for something. Rose explains that she has heard the crown prince has just returned to the imperial palace and wishes only to confirm his presence, as she has never seen him before. Tina mentions that His Highness has been dominating newspaper headlines lately, with his image appearing repeatedly in print. Rachel wonders aloud what that could mean, given that Rose has never seen him before. Rose admits that she does not subscribe to any newspapers. Rachel sighs and informs Rose that a portrait of His Highness hangs on the west side of the dance hall on the first floor. Originally a public hall, it has been closed due to infrequent use. She suggests that if Rose wishes, they can visit the hall tomorrow. Rose considers this and concludes that it may be acceptable to wait until the following day. The next morning, the maid reminds them that a formal outfit must be prepared for Rose. Watching all the maids working tirelessly on the elaborate garment, Rose is deeply moved, realizing that these outfits are crafted continuously with careful attention. Someone remarks that the preparation must conclude before dinner, noting that a young lady cannot eat carelessly when a party is imminent. The lady explains that the occasion will serve both as Rose's award ceremony and her debutante ball simultaneously. Unlike any other young lady, Rose is granted a unique, special day, and therefore her dress must be prepared with extraordinary care. At that moment, Serena arrives, apologizing for her lateness. She explains that the area is surrounded by numerous fruit trees, and she took a short excursion to enjoy the scenery. Her explanation astonishes the two ladies. The lady overseeing preparations observes that the beauties within the imperial palace are indeed striking, and instructs Serena to change out of her current attire and into another outfit. As the proprietor of the Queen Best boutique, she vows to transform them into the most beautiful women the Empire has ever seen. She explains that both of them deserve respect for saving the Emperor's life, so they should honor the benefactor of their Emperor. However, with the awards ceremony scheduled in just 3 days, she can only prepare something simple due to the limited time. The two of them let out a resigned sigh, understanding that she wants them to dress modestly and unpretentiously for the occasion. When the boutique owner inquires about the details, Rose repeats what she just said, emphasizing her admiration for the boutique owner's extraordinary skills. She mentions that she wants to decorate her hair with the ornaments, though the boutique ladies quickly realize that such simple decorations would not suit an event of this grandeur. Rose insists that these ornaments hold great personal significance to her, but the boutique lady explains that smaller, simpler ornaments have their appropriate occasions, and this particular event demands more opulent styling. Rose then proposes blending her chosen ornaments with a naturalistic elf style. The boutique lady carefully places the flower tiara atop her head, and even Serena is moved by the vibrant, almost fruity beauty of the result. The boutique lady marvels at the success, calling it a miraculous combination of naturalistic style and color. Satisfied, Rose laughs when the Buddhist lady remarks that they seem destined to become good partners, jokingly adding that her instincts often follow money. She also plans to take the blue marble with her and asks if it can be transformed into a bracelet. The boutique lady assures her that it can be done within 2 days, and Rose emphasizes that the bracelet should be durable and not easily break. At last, it is time for Rose to eat, but all she is provided is milk and some bread. She wonders where the meat is, realizing that at this rate, she would fail any nutritional standards set by a human nutritionist. When she asks the maid whether meat dishes, such as steak or beef stew, will be served, the maid responds incredulously, questioning her very notion of eating meat. Apparently, it is considered sinful to indulge in meat or alcohol, as it could cause weight gain and harm. Rose seethes inwardly, silently cursing the strict temple that enforces such rigid restrictions, knowing that the rules are designed to suppress her natural desires. Despite her frustrations, she notices Rachel is pleased, seeming to enjoy the temple's foods, and Rachel mentions that she will send a mate after Rose's breakfast tomorrow for preparation. Rose contemplates whether she can see the item now, and Rachel considers if she truly wants to. Rose affirms, internally deciding she should sneak off briefly to search for proper food. Rachel offers to escort her, but Rose declines, insisting that she can manage alone for a moment. Rachel hesitates, but eventually respects her autonomy, cautioning her to be careful around strangers and not to wander too far. As Rose prepares to leave, Serena steps forward, saying she wants to accompany her to see Princess Ayla on the east side. Rules prohibit Serena from joining her, but she protests lightly, claiming that she enjoys walking alone. Rose reassures her that she will return soon, ensuring there is no cause for worry, while Serena expresses concern and warns her to stay alert. Later, Rose, draped in a robe, examines her precious money, envisioning a meat sandwich loaded with rich cuts, something she has been craving. Observing the crowd, she wonders why it might take so long to reach the store, and notes the unusual throngs of people gathering nearby. Her gaze falls upon a group equipped with cameras and notepads, and she immediately recognizes them as reporters. Turning away, she makes them curious, as it is rare for individuals in the imperial palace to stroll freely in such a manner. They speculate whether she might be some notable founder or person of interest. One reporter, introducing himself as Johnson, a senior from Gray's editorial magazine, attempts to approach her for a brief conversation. Rose, however, pulls her robe tighter and continues to evade them, prompting even more suspicion about her hurried departure from the palace. The reporters press further, questioning if she is the invited guest and inquiring about her sudden exit. Sighing, Rose begins to run, trying to distance herself from their probing eyes, while the reporters exchange knowing smirks, sensing the potential for exclusive, tantalizing news. The commotion begins as voices rise behind her, calling out and questioning her remarkable speed. The moment her lavender hair comes into view, the journalists erupt, recognizing her instantly as the rumored princess. One of them pleads for her to pause, insisting they only wish to ask a few questions. Rose knows instinctively that if she lingers, she will be caught in a situation that could only end in disgrace. Her eyes dart frantically, searching for an escape, until she spots a potential refuge, the library. The reporters, puzzled by her sudden disappearance, scatter in different directions, some assuming she must have taken another path. Meanwhile, Rose slips behind a curtain, but the relief is fleeting. Her ankle protests with pain, a sharp reminder of her hurried flight. As she takes in her surroundings, she is struck by the sheer luxury of the library. It is unlike anything she has ever seen, its grandeur almost overwhelming. Her gaze falls on a portrait of Asher, undeniably handsome, but adorned with an extravagant array of jewels. She cannot help but wonder whether it is appropriate to embellish a painting in such a manner, and how much all of it must have cost. Curiosity overtakes her caution, and she reaches out, touching the jewels to confirm they are real. A tantalizing thought crosses her mind. If she were to sell even one of these jewels, she could afford any luxury, any meal she desired. Yet, as she handles them, disaster strikes. One stone slips from her hand, followed by another, and soon the entire collection begins to cascade to the floor. Panic grips her as she struggles to figure out how to restore them. At that moment, a voice calls from behind Asher. Her heart sinks. She is utterly exposed. He scoffs, his tone laced with incredulity, questioning when exactly she had managed to enter. She turns to see him fully, recognizing the azure in front of her, and wonders if it is fair for him to appear even more handsome than his own painting. Her hands are full of scattered jewels when he remarks that she has been caught red-handed. Desperately, she hides her hands and protests that it is a misunderstanding. She insists she is simply attempting to return the fallen stones and did not intend to remove them. Asher's sharp gaze takes in her trembling eyes, her rough breathing, and her defensive stance. In that instant, he identifies her Rose, a young woman from a poor family. Her background explains her apparent motive, yet he scoffs at the notion, deeming her claim insufficient. In his mind, the evidence is undeniable. She herself had taken the jewels, and mere words cannot change that. His unemotional observation strikes her to the core, making her feel as though he is blind to her humanity. The situation spirals into the perfect storm of misunderstanding, leaving her scrambling for a way to resolve it. Without hesitation, she bows deeply before him, prompting Asher to question her actions. She explains that she wished to quell any anger he might feel, believing it would appease him. Yet Asher, unable to feel anger himself, only confirms her ignorance. Rose's thoughts race. She possesses a fragment of his soul, yet he remains unmoved. In the narrative she has known, such a fragment should provoke an immediate response. Perhaps, she reasons, he does not yet realize it is there. This is the first time he has encountered such a sensation. She attempts to guide him gently, suggesting they sit and talk, but an awkward silence settles between them. Asher remarks that he has heard she was invited as an honored guest to the imperial palace for saving the emperor's life, yet here she is, in a hall not in use, accused of theft. Rose, bewildered, protests that she had taken nothing. The jewels had fallen on their own. Asher counters, commenting on her self-indulgent attitude, refusing to heed the words of a supposed criminal. She bristles at his dismissal, warning him that he will regret arresting her, though he remains clueless to the presence of his soul fragment in her possession. She explains that this is likely confusing, as it is his first experience with such emotions, though Asher, ever composed, scoffs at what he perceives as nonsense, and suggests that arresting her might be the simplest course. Rose, unimpressed by his temper, responds with a wry scoff. She is not intimidated. She is an expert in emotions and fully prepared to make His Highness, the Crown Prince, feel what he has never felt before. Hearing this, he remains utterly quiet, a stillness that speaks volume. She senses it immediately. He is surprised, undeniably so, and she points out that she can demonstrate it right now if he wishes. Yet he stays silent, unyielding. A scoff escapes him, tinged with a hint of disbelief, as if mocking the idea that she is trying to provoke some emotion within him. She asserts that she possesses elf blood, a rare and potent gift, and because of it, everything she claims is possible. She emphasizes her uniqueness, explaining that this ability is something only she can accomplish in the entire world. Asher admits that he has never encountered such a thing before. He concedes almost grudgingly that someone like her, so extraordinary and singular, is indeed unlike anyone he has ever seen. He coughs, acknowledging the truth, yet the unspoken admiration lingers in his words. She notices something in his expression, the subtle recognition that he has never observed anyone attempt to lie to her, a fact that startles her. In reality, her claim is a lie, but a lie crafted for a person who approaches life with sincerity and without guile, a lie designed to establish trust. She challenges him, questioning why he cannot trust others, why he cannot extend even a fragment of belief toward her. She implores him to trust her, even if trust in everyone else remains impossible. Once again, she presses him, asking if he feels anything stirring within his heart, anything different from the mundane rhythm of his usual existence. Her urgency intensifies as he remains dumbfounded, leaving her frustration mounting. She fears her careful plans, her metaphorical plant, will wither and die before her eyes. Just as she searches for a solution, intent on convincing him somehow, a faint sound reaches her, a song, melancholy and distant. She perceives that it comes from a nearby door, prompting both of them to move toward it. Asher watches her, bewildered, questioning the significance of the sudden commotion. Rose, on the other hand, is incredulous at the persistence of the reporters, unable to comprehend their refusal to relent. She urges him to hide with her for a moment, knowing that the press will make the situation intolerably uncomfortable. She asks him to wait, just for a minute, yet in her haste she trips, teetering dangerously close to falling onto him. At that precise instant, the door bursts open, and the reporters arrive, exclaiming that she is present and immediately declaring the moment as exclusive news. Their eyes widen in shock as they witness the two of them nearly collapsing onto each other. Cameras flash, capturing every second, and questions pour forth. Why are they together in the Hall of Winter? And how long have they known each other? The reporters' demands for answers grow frantic. Asher's eyes widen in panic at the sight of her so precariously positioned atop him. Before chaos can escalate further, the knights intervene, commanding the reporters to step back. They declare that the library is closed to the press that day, a rule that suddenly shields the two from further intrusion. The reporters protest, bewildered at the sudden enforcement, but the knights stand firm, escorting them out. Now only Asher and Rose remain, alone and somewhat dazed. A knight reassures Asher that the press has been sent away, checking if he is unharmed. Though the journalists have been barred from entering, their persistence ensures that they might still have captured photographs. Asher is left speechless when the knight notices strange sounds emanating from Rose's stomach. She quickly apologizes, explaining that she has not eaten anything all day. The absurdity of the situation strikes her. The princess who saved the emperor's life is now collapsing from hunger, while reporters, momentarily crushed by their own intrusion, are kept at bay. The knight, confused but dutiful, attends to her needs, while Asher, gazing at Rose's radiant, smiling face, instructs that she be given rice and that the head chef be summoned.